My name is Jennifer Carignan, and I work at Amgen, the location in Rhode Island. I've been there for 14 years. I started out as an associate in manufacturing, and I moved to process engineering. After that, I went to project management as an engineering project manager. My current role is a plant quality assurance specialist. The name Amgen, that actually stands for Applied Molecular Genetics, and it's a biotech company. We were founded 40 years ago, and our headquarters is over in Thousand Oaks, California. And biotech is different from traditional pharmaceutical in that in pharmaceuticals, basically they're compounding medicines into a tablet form, for example, and it's usually a really simple product that they're making. We are actually engineering some larger, more complicated proteins from mammal or mammalian cells. And these proteins are designed to mimic some naturally occurring proteins in our bodies and they act as a therapy for various medical conditions, including high cholesterol, blood disorders, cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, and many others. At Amgen, our mission is to serve patients, and we have this saying that we will try to serve every patient every time. So we do take that as one of our priorities to make sure that we're manufacturing the medicines that our patients need, making sure that they can get access to the medicines that they need and that they never go without.
Great. Thank you for that overview. As far as when new folks come into Amgen, what are they looking for in new employees? So, what kind of education or career field skills do you need to have? But also, what soft skills make someone very successful at Amgen?
So the quick answer to that is we're usually looking for someone who has a science or an engineering background. So if you have either of those, you're probably a strong candidate to come and work at Amgen. There are people there who have neither, but they do bring a different background to the table that also suits what we're trying to do on a daily basis. So it's not limited to that, but the majority of people who work there do have degrees in either science or engineering. As far as soft skills, I think one of the top ones would be communication, both verbal and written communication. Um, we do a lot of work in teams. We're communicating in meetings and nowadays in virtual platform. Also sending emails back and forth, drafting procedures, documenting in batch records, writing reports. So all of that information needs to be communicated properly from person to person and from record to record to make sure that we're recording what we do in a way that is acceptable to regulatory agencies like the FDA, and just making sure that the information is communicated well from person to person. Some other soft skills that came to mind were good problem solving skills. Um, there's hardly a slow and easy day at Amgen. It depends on what's going on. But if you're someone who can take this thing that has gone wrong and troubleshoot it and come up with options for what we can do to proceed in a way that is best for everyone, then you're someone that we want on our team. That brings me to the next soft skill, the ability to work well in teams. Like I said earlier, we're definitely working a lot in cross-functional teams. We like a diversity of experiences and thought to find the best solution. Also the ability to work well independently, stay organized, be efficient. And then there's probably the same old soft skills for most jobs nowadays. Microsoft Office, being able to use Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Some bonuses that are not necessary, but they're definitely nice to have might be skills in Lean Six Sigma, and also a few other soft skills like maybe working with Smartsheets, SharePoint, things like that.
As much as you can say in this environment right now, what's the job outlook for entry level employees at Amgen, maybe over the next year?
So at Amgen, people are encouraged to move up, move over as they see fit for their careers. And I know that movement is always happening. Sometimes people are moving up within their department or over to a different department. And you can certainly conclude that from my background, as I said earlier. And even some people might move to a different site. They might choose to spend some time at our sites in Thousand Oaks, California, or down in Puerto Rico. So as those people are moving on, they're leaving open behind them that entry-level position that brought them to the company in the first place, and those positions need to be filled. I would say the outlook is probably good. Luckily, Amgen has been very fortunate to keep on moving during the pandemic. We do have a number of staff working from home, but manufacturing has not stopped. Like I said, we're trying to serve every patient every time. The only unknown still is the pandemic itself. It could be very challenging to have an entry-level position, which is not essential, and try to hire that person and coach them and bring them up to speed while never having set foot on site. I did try to reach out to see if I could find more information about what the outlook is for the next year. I wasn't able to get a clear answer, but I did look at our job postings today, and there's one entry-level position open for the Rhode Island site, so that's encouraging to see. And there's also posted the internships that they look for undergrads, and they do take on about a dozen undergrad interns every summer. And we did have them last summer, even though most of them were never able to set foot on campus. So I still believe the outlook is good. It just might be a little different from past years.
So you mentioned your path up through Amgen, but can you tell us a little bit about how you got to Amgen to begin with? You know, what were some of your early experiences in the field, or did you complete any internships, or where did you go to college?
I went to the University of Connecticut for chemical engineering. I got my bachelor's. Later on, I did return to school to get my MBA from URI. And that was an excellent experience because Amgen was able to reimburse me for my tuition. So that was a win-win. But back at UConn, I was a member of AICHE, the American Institute for Chemical Engineers. And every year we hosted a career fair. Amgen was one of the attendees of that career fair, and I saw that as my opportunity to get back home to Rhode Island. Rhode Island is where I'm from. So I did the best I could to research the company ahead of time, and I networked with the little Amgen booth and made some good contacts with the people who were there. Shortly after, they had a hiring wave because they had started up a new manufacturing plant on the Rhode Island site, Building 5, and they hired a large number of people in a short amount of time. I was hired as a manufacturing associate, which means I got to work on the floor with the equipment and move the process along. So my main responsibilities were setting up for cleaning, steaming, starting the process, pulling samples, analyzing those samples, and testing filters. Those were my main responsibilities. It was an entry-level position. It was a great experience because all of the other departments at Amgen, they ultimately support the process in one way or another. It all comes back to manufacturing. So that's how I got there. On the note of moving over and moving up, I was able to use networking and mentorship to reach out to the engineering department and see if I could move over there. Basically, as time went on, as I met people, whether it was walking down the hallway with someone or waiting in line at the cafeteria for food, I would talk with everyone and ask them for advice, ask them for their background and try to learn about them and see how they got to where they were, what mistakes they made, what worked well. So I think it gave me an advantage over time, and I've been able to have the ability to move from position to position pretty easily, and it's good for me because I like change. I like to learn things, and yeah, that's it.
Networking is so important, and people tend to only think of those formal networking opportunities. So I appreciate that you mentioned those informal networking possibilities as well. So do you have any advice for current CCR students looking to join your field or maybe even Amgen?
So I did forget to mention the various departments that we have at our site in Rhode Island. So there's manufacturing, quality assurance, engineering. There's also an automation department, and that's linked with IT and IS, process development, supply chain. There's a safety department, regulatory, working with the agencies, and quality control. They do a lot of the sample analysis. So with that background, there are many different roles that we have to offer at Amgen or in the industry. Some pieces of advice that I would have is to learn what you can about the industry, find out what companies there are, follow them on Facebook, LinkedIn, see what posts they're sharing, what achievements they're celebrating, what milestones they're working toward. Learn about the locations. Like I said, when I was over at UConn, I really wanted to get a job at Amgen because it was my chance to come home to Rhode Island. But you might want to work at a particular company and find that they only have locations that fit your background in Cambridge, Massachusetts, or down in North Carolina. So try to do that research ahead of time so that you're not applying for a place that takes you to a location that you don't want to be in. Definitely network as much as you can. If you do want to work at Amgen in particular, take a look at our website and learn the Amgen values. We have 8 Amgen values, and those are not just pretty words on the wall somewhere in the hallways. We actually use those to make our decisions. We use them for end of the year performance reviews. We try to make sure that we are living the Amgen values, that we're united in what we're doing. Some of those Amgen values are be science-based. You want to make a decision that's based on evidence and not just on a whim. Another value is to compete intensely and win. This is a very intense industry. Sometimes our competitors are working on the same thing that we are, and we want to make sure that we can be the first to market, for example. Another value is to ensure quality. So while we're hurrying up to get something done, we need to make sure that we're doing it right and that it's safe for our patients and things like that. So the Amgen values would be a key. See if they align with what you're looking for in a company. And then finally, don't be afraid to take an entry-level position that's not necessarily aligned with what you studied in school. My background was engineering, and I took a position in manufacturing where basically you open your procedure, you follow steps 1 through 10, and you move on to the next thing. But the experience that I had from working on the floor definitely set me up for better success when I did get that job in process engineering and when I did move on to engineering project management. So you can gain something from any position. And then while you're there, you can definitely network and create your own opportunities and grow your career and make your own, make your own path in life.